What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome back for another episode. This is Heavy Love presents Hats, Hoodies, and Handshake. Let's lock in. Let's go. Covered by the grace from the will got cold. Now I walk real light cause my soul been told. Hoodies up, faith don't break. Every setback turned into heaven's handshake. Came back clean, yeah, the past got erased. Redemption fit me like a custom-made Drake. I was running through the city with the weight on my chest. Gold chain swing, but my heart under stress. Sending more bells, but I wasn't in the. All right, welcome back for another episode. Let's jump in, because I know it's been a while since I've been before y'all. And matter of fact, I think the last time we talked, I told y'all that I was struggling with some mental health stuff, and then life decided to pile a little bit more on me. I mean, I've actually already recorded 2 other episodes, and just haven't been in a space where I felt like I needed to put those out. You know, I might even have to re-record them. But it's been one of those seasons to where you got to sit back and you got to figure out what's happening and what's going on. And I don't think that makes you less of a person to have to do that. I don't think, at least for myself, I don't think so. But this week, I've been going through some health stuff, and I had to go to the doctor and get some blood work drawn. And I did that, and I know that when my doctor, who is just a phenomenal doctor, just a phenomenal person who goes, I mean, she just cares about people to the utmost level. I know when she called me after my blood work, I knew that it was something. And she told me, "Did you see your results?" And I was just like, "Yeah," but I didn't quite understand all of it. I knew that my A1C level had went up, and she was like, "Yes." And I can hear over the phone kind of almost like she's looking me in my eyes, but she's not there because she wants to know and make sure that I feel what she's about to say. And she like, "Aaron, you have type 2 diabetes." And I kind of sat back and just kind of rubbed my eyes and thought about it like, oh man, you know, I understand what that means. I've got family who have it. I know people who've, you know, had it and it didn't get better. But I do also know people who've had it and it got better. But what it felt like, and I think what I've been feeling and haven't been able to connect the two until just recently, is that I felt like I was 18 years old, standing in the courtroom again, getting sentenced. I remember the feeling that I had when I was in the courtroom and I looked up and the judge said, "They don't tell you years. They give it your sentence in months." And they told me 30 months. And the only thing that I heard was 30 and automatically thought 30 years. And it wasn't until I got back to my cell to begin the process that I was like, okay, they've given me 2.5 years in prison, and which ended up turning to 4.5 years. But that same feeling when my doctor called me is the way I felt. You know, I've been given 2 sentences now in my life. One to go to prison, and then one of diabetes. One sent me to the joint, and the other sent me to the pharmacy. But neither one gets to decide who I become. I think that's the most important part that I'm taking from this, is that neither one of those sentences get to decide who I become. See, prison taught me something that most people never get to learn. Like, they never get to learn. It teaches you that it doesn't matter what's in front of you, as long as you got the tenacity to go through it. When I first got there, when I first got to prison, all I could think about was 2.5 years, not even realizing that was going to turn into a longer sentence. But all I kept thinking about was 2.5 years. It felt impossible. It felt like something I was 18. It felt like something that I just couldn't do, But I remember getting around some older guys who had been there for a long time, and who just kind of took me under their wings and was like, I remember this guy told me, this one guy, his name was actually Red, funny cat. But he said, he called me Young Blood. It's like, Young Blood, come here, man. And so I go over there, I'm like, what's up, OG? And he like, don't do all your time today. And I was like, what? He's like, don't do all your time today. And then he just walked off. And I was like, don't do all my time today. And I didn't really understand it at first. But as I thought about it, I was like, oh, just make it count. Just make today count. Like make it to count time. Make it to lunch. Make it to chow. Make it to lights out. Like just do that and see where you get. And it's teaching me, because I think so often we try to tackle life all in one moment. Like we take everything that's happening, everything that's going on, and we got to figure it out right now. And that's just not the way life works. Like we don't get to decide what tomorrow is going to be like. We don't get to fix tomorrow problems before they actually become problems. They taught me how to survive one day at a time. And I use that same principle now. I am not jumping into tomorrow, right? That's what my mind says. But let's be honest and say that, bruh, we get to points where it's we can't help but think about what tomorrow got, what I'm gonna do with this. And when I heard that diabetes and understanding the challenges that had made for people that I love, I was a little worried, I was worried. I was worried. And I'd be lying if I said that there's still some small worries and concerns that I'm struggling with right now. But I will say this. Even though that sentence from prison was the exact same feeling, I know that the things that they've told me I got to do, I can't do in one day. Just like I knew that I couldn't do that whole 2.5 years, which turned into 4.5 in one day. Although I would have paid any amount of money that I had, which wasn't much, to be able to do that, I recognized that I couldn't. And so often in our life, we get trapped and we worry about stuff that's never going to come to fruition. We worry about stuff that's never going to happen. My doctor told me that I need to lose about 28 pounds. And I'm like, dang, lose 28 pounds, change the way I eat, exercise, take medicine, drink more water, check my sugar levels. Man, that list became overwhelming. I mean, it's already feeling overwhelming, and just the thought of it, until I stopped trying to process how do I lose 28 pounds today, and just say how do I just live better? How do I go tomorrow and make good choices? Because that's all I get is that next choice, that next decision. What I'm going to do with that. And I think over these last couple of days, I've been doing well in making just a good choice. There was, if I got to be honest and kind of wrap my head around the part that's the hardest about this, it's probably the having to lose weight and recognizing that means that I have to eat less as part of that. And I love to eat. And so as I'm processing that, I'm like, oh man, you telling me that I gotta not do one of the things that I love doing the most? It's like, yeah. And so I'm all in. Like I am tapped in, and I understand how the process of not worrying about how I got to change so drastically in my mind, but just what do I do with this next decision that I get? The next time I'm at work, when, Ms. Mia is asking, hey, getting tacos, who wants some? Like, am I gonna submit and fall into that, or am I gonna make a good choice? So I like to tell you I'm gonna make a good choice, because that's what I want to believe and think. But only time will tell. And I'm not telling you this because like I got it all figured out. In fact, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm back. And that's why I'm making this episode, is because I don't got it all figured out. And I don't know if I'm going to fail or if I'm going to succeed tomorrow. But what I do know is I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop. I'm telling you because I'm walking through this. And I'm telling you, I feel good just being back in front of y'all. And I feel good just acknowledging this and saying it out loud, because now I got some people that can hold me accountable for my decision. Right? I've learned 3 lessons from prison that I'm implementing into this journey of defeating and beating diabetes. The first one is that I'm not going to let the sentence become my identity. I was in prison, but I wasn't a prisoner forever. I have diabetes, but I'm not subjected to being with diabetes forever. And so not letting my sentence become my identity is a thing that I've looked at. I've had people come up to me and say, when I tell them my story, they be like, man, ain't no way you've been to prison. Like, the things that you've done, the successes you had, all of your characteristics and your mannerisms, it's not given that you've been to prison. And it's because I didn't let that become my identity. And so just like prison, I was able to overcome. I don't have to let diabetes be my identity. I don't have to be subjected to what this sentence has meant to other people, or how other people have walked into this and maybe not been as successful as they wanted to be. I don't have to live into that. I get to decide today who I'm going to be in relationships to diabetes. My second lesson is that small disciplines beat big emotions. Small disciplines beat big emotions. Nobody changes their life in one day. Like, that's just it. Nobody does. The change happens after a decision, right? You make a decision, and then you make another one, and then you make another one, and then you make another one. And that's where change begins to happen, because the more of those good decisions and choices we make, they're not just decisions and choices no more. They're becoming a part of who we are, right? I got 2 nephews that just woke up one day, feel like, and said, I'm not eating meat no more. And I remember teasing them and saying, bro, y'all will be back eating some bacon tomorrow. And it's been, 7, 8 years of them not eating meat. And it started with one choice, just decide not to do it one day after the other. And now it's just a part of who they are. And just like those same principles that they used to implement the change that they wanted to see, we get to do too. So that's lesson 2. My third one is that hope is a muscle. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Hope is a muscle. Every day in prison, I had to believe there would be a life waiting for me when I got home. I had to believe that. And that is what kept me going. I didn't know what that life was going to be like. I mean, I had made these plans in my head of what I was going to do. But what I did know is that if I lost that hope, or if I didn't think and plan ahead, then I was doomed to repeat the mistakes and choices that I had made. That officer who said that I was going to come back and that I would be back was going to be right. But the more we hope, the more it becomes a muscle, the more it becomes who we are. It gets stronger. It gets stronger. And so I don't have to just lean on a wish or, a hope in the sense that this is not possible. I've hoped enough and seen things happen and turn in my favor enough that I know that just by hoping, just by being faithful, just by being dedicated, that things can change and work out in my favor. I have to believe there's a healthier version of me waiting in Tomorrowland. And all I got to do to get to that person is just make the next right choice. Make the next right choice. So maybe there's people that's struggling with the same thing I am. Maybe your diagnosis isn't diabetes. Maybe it's depression. Maybe it's divorce. Maybe it's addiction. Maybe it's debt. Maybe grief. What sentence did life hand me? It doesn't have to be the one that it handed you. And the question isn't, what did it hand us? The question is, what am I going to do while I'm serving it? Because I can tell you and guarantee you this, in this fallen world, each and every one of us are dealing with some type of a sentence. But how are we going to do that time? I seen people in prison who were miserable because they couldn't let go of the idea of being free, the idea of being out. And so their time was served in a horrible state because they were worrying about what their girl was doing. They was wondering why people wasn't writing them. Why were they were feeling abandoned? All of those things created this environment of struggle. And then there were some who embraced where they are, and they did the time understanding that one day that would end too. So I'm inviting you to walk with me because I know that we are stronger together. It's the whole reason I started this channel, so that I could be strength for other people, but also recognizing that there's times when I need strength from you. So I've got 28 pounds to lose. I ain't got my watch on. I ain't clocking it, but I got 28 pounds to lose. And so the journey begins now. And I just want to be real with y'all and share where I'm at, share how it's going, share what I'm going through. I'm not hiding it. Every week I'm going to do like just a small check-in and let you know how I won this week or how I struggled this week. But quitting ain't going to be one of those things you ever hear me say. I didn't quit when I was in prison. I survived. I did what I needed to do. I learned the lessons that I needed to learn that I wouldn't have to go back. And I'm here before you now. I'm applying that same concept and principle to this diagnosis because it doesn't matter what they say I am. What matters is what I do with the information. Prison taught me that freedom isn't when the gates open. Freedom starts the moment you decide that your future is bigger than your current situation. I decide today that my future is bigger than my situation. I'm making that decision again and again and again. Not because I have to, but because I want to be here. I want to be able to live out my life the way I'm supposed to be able to be a blessing to those that I come in contact. I want to be there for my wife. I want to be there for my kids. I want to be there for this community, for the people who need to know that bad news doesn't have to become the end of your story. And all it takes is one day, one meal, one workout, one decision at a time. And you can apply that same principle to what you're going through. So what I want to know is if you're willing to walk through this journey with me. Type in the chat and let me know and say, Aaron AD, I'm with you. If you say you with me, then I'm gonna hold you accountable for being my accountability partner. And I can take as many as I can get, because one thing I know is I may not be able to defeat something on my own, but y'all some strong folk out there. And if you're willing to walk with me, I already know that we got this covered. And so remember, we wear our hats. We all need hoodies, but never underestimate the power of a handshake. And so I'm expecting y'all to shake hands with me in agreement with this, and we're going to make some good choices. We're going to move forward, and we're going to be here for a long time to come, because all of us still got work to do. Let's build, and let's go be great. Peace.